Emma Rodriguez stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror of the subway station bathroom, trying to fix her slightly crooked blazer and tame her rebellious curls. Today was the day she would finally land a decent job, she told herself for the 100th time this month. The coffee stain on her resume from yesterday's disaster interview had been carefully covered with correction fluid, and her lucky earrings sparkled with renewed hope. The address on her phone showed Parker Printing Services, 42nd floor, Morrison Building. Emma had applied for a simple receptionist position, nothing fancy, but it promised steady pay and benefits. After 3 months of rejections and dwindling savings, she couldn't afford to be picky anymore. The Morrison Building stood like a glass, giant against the cloudy sky, its chrome surface reflecting the busy street below. Emma took a deep breath and pushed through the revolving doors, her worn heels clicking against the marble floor. The lobby was magnificent, with crystal chandeliers and expensive artwork that made her feel underdressed in her department store blazer. She approached the reception desk, where a perfectly groomed woman sat typing with mechanical precision. "Excuse me, I'm here for the interview at Parker Printing Services," Emma said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. The receptionist looked up with barely concealed boredom. "Name?" "Emma Rodriguez. I have an appointment at 2 o'clock. Without a word, the woman handed her a visitor's badge and pointed toward the elevator bank. 42nd floor suite, 4200. "Mr. Kane will see you shortly." Emma's eyebrows furrowed. "Mr. Kane? I thought I was meeting with Mr. Parker." "Same thing," the receptionist replied curtly, already returning to her typing. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor felt like ascending to another world. When the doors opened, Emma stepped into a pristine hallway lined with floor 2 ceiling. Windows and modern art pieces that probably cost more than her annual rent. This was definitely not what she expected from a neighborhood printing shop. A tall man in an expensive suit appeared from around the corner, checking his watch with visible impatience. He had dark hair, sharp features, and the kind of presence that commanded attention without saying a word. When he looked up and saw Emma, his expression shifted from annoyance to curiosity. "You must be the 2 o'clock appointment," he said, his voice deep and measured. "I'm Sebastian Kane," Emma nodded, extending her hand with what she hoped was a professional smile. "Emma Rodriguez. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Kane." Sebastian's handshake was firm, and Emma noticed how his dark eyes seemed to study her intently. There was something almost magnetic about his gaze, though his expression remained unreadable. He gestured toward a set of glass doors marked Executive Conference Room. "Shall we begin?" he asked, holding the door open for her. The conference room was intimidating in its perfection. A massive table dominated the space, surrounded by leather chairs that looked like they belonged in a luxury car showroom. Floor 2 ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city skyline, making Emma feel like she was floating among the clouds. Sebastian took a seat across from her and opened a thin folder. "So, Ms. Rodriguez, tell me about your experience with corporate communications and executive assistance." Emma blinked in confusion. "Corporate communications? I'm sorry, but I think there might be some confusion. I applied for a receptionist position at Parker Printing Services." A slight smile played at the corners of Sebastian's mouth. "Parker Printing Services. Yes, the job posting mentioned handling phone calls, filing, and basic customer service. Nothing about corporate communications." Sebastian leaned back in his chair, his expression shifting from confusion to amusement. "Ms. Rodriguez, you're not at Parker Printing Services. You're at Kane Industries, one of the largest technology corporations in the country.
Oh.
And I'm not looking for a receptionist." Emma felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "Oh no, I must have gotten the wrong floor. I'm so sorry to waste your time." "Wait," Sebastian said as she started to stand. "Before you go, humor me. What makes you think you'd be good at handling communications and executive assistance?" Hesitated, torn between fleeing and embarrassment and the desperate need for any job opportunity. "Well, I'm organized. I think quickly on my feet, and I'm good with people. I once managed the front desk at a busy medical clinic during flu season, which taught me how to juggle multiple priorities while keeping everyone calm." "Interesting. And how do you handle pressure?" "I make lists, prioritize tasks, and try to find humor in stressful situations. Laughter makes everything more manageable." Sebastian's expression softened almost imperceptibly. And what's your long-term career goal? Emma looked out at the city skyline, then back at Sebastian. Honestly, right now, my goal is to find a job that pays enough for me to afford both rent and groceries in the same month. But eventually, I'd love to work somewhere that values creativity and human connection. For the first time since the interview began, Sebastian's professional mask slipped, revealing genuine interest. That's refreshingly honest. Figure there's no point in pretending to be someone I'm not. If you're looking for someone polished and corporate, I'm probably not your person. But if you need someone who genuinely cares about doing good work and treating people well, then maybe we can talk. Sebastian was quiet for a long moment, studying Emma with those penetrating dark eyes. Finally, he spoke. Ms. Rodriguez, what would you say if I offered you a position as my personal assistant? Hey, the salary would be competitive, the benefits excellent. And the work challenging? Emma's mouth fell open. You serious? But I just told you I applied for the wrong job and have no experience in corporate anything. Sometimes the best candidates are the ones who don't fit the mold. You're genuine, quick-thinking, and you made me laugh in the span of 10 minutes. That's more than I can say for most of the supposedly qualified candidates I've interviewed. But why would you take such a risk on someone like me? Sebastian stood and walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. Because, Ms. Rodriguez, I've spent so many years surrounded by people who tell me what they think I want to hear that I've forgotten what honesty sounds like. You remind me that not everyone in this world has an agenda. Emma felt a flutter of something she couldn't quite name. And what would this job actually involve? Managing my schedule, handling correspondence, coordinating meetings, and essentially making sure my professional life runs smoothly. It's demanding work, but I think you might be exactly what I need. Can I ask you something? Sebastian turned back to face her. Of course. Why aren't you married? The question slipped out before Emma could stop herself, and she immediately clapped a hand over her mouth. I'm sorry, that was completely inappropriate. But Sebastian chuckled, a genuine sound that transformed his entire face. That's definitely not a standard interview question. But since you asked, I suppose it's because I've never met anyone who could tolerate both my work schedule and my grandmother's expectations. Your grandmother? Catherine Kane. She's convinced that my bachelor status is a personal affront to the family legacy. She's been threatening to arrange a marriage for me if I don't find someone suitable soon. Emma laughed, despite herself. That sounds like something out of a romantic comedy. More like a horror film from my perspective, Sebastian said dryly. But enough about my family drama. You want the job, Miss Rodriguez? Emma looked around the luxurious conference room, then at Sebastian's expectant face. 6 months ago, she would never have imagined sitting in a place like this, being offered a job by a man who probably earned more in a day than she had in her entire life. But something about Sebastian intrigued her. Beneath his polished exterior, she sensed loneliness and a yearning for something real. Yes, she said finally. Yes, I want the job. Sebastian's smile was like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Excellent. Can you start Monday? Absolutely. But I should probably warn you that I have no idea what I'm doing. It makes two of us, Sebastian admitted. I've never hired someone based on their ability to get lost in the right building. As they shook hands to seal the agreement, Emma felt a spark of electricity that had nothing to do with static. Looking into Sebastian's eyes, she had the strangest feeling that walking into the wrong office might have been the rightest mistake she'd ever made. One more thing, Sebastian said as they walked toward the elevator. You'll need to meet my assistant Oliver tomorrow to go over the details. He'll help you get settled and explain our procedures. Procedures? Don't worry, nothing too complicated, though I should mention that part of your job might involve accompanying me to business. Dinners and corporate events. Is that something you'd be comfortable with? Emma nodded, though her stomach fluttered with nervous excitement. I can handle that. As the elevator descended toward the lobby, Emma caught her reflection in the polished steel doors. The same person who had entered the building an hour ago was leaving, but somehow everything felt different. She was no longer just Emma Rodriguez, unemployed and struggling. She was Emma Rodriguez, personal assistant to one of the most powerful men in the city. And if the way Sebastian kept glancing at her was any indication, this job was going to be far more complicated than managing schedules and answering phones. When they reached the lobby, Sebastian handed her a business card with his personal number. Call me if you have any questions before Monday. Thank you, Mr. Kane, for taking a chance on me. Sebastian, he corrected. And something tells me you're going to be worth the risk. As Emma walked out of the Morrison building and into the afternoon sunlight, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just taken an unexpected turn towards something extraordinary. She had come looking for a simple job and found herself drawn into the orbit of a man who is anything but simple. Behind her, Sebastian watched through the glass doors until she disappeared into the crowd, a small smile playing on his lips. For the first time in years, he was genuinely curious about what Monday would bring. Emma's first week at Kane Industries had been a whirlwind of learning new systems, meeting important people, and trying not to spill coffee on documents worth millions of dollars. Oliver Chen, Sebastian's longtime assistant, had been patient in teaching her the ropes, though she caught him smirking whenever she accidentally called board members by their first names or forgot to use formal titles. "Remember, Emma?" Oliver said on Friday afternoon. "Mr. Kane prefers his coffee black, his meetings to start exactly on time, and his personal life to remain completely separate from work." Emma glanced toward Sebastian's office, where she could see him through the glass walls, speaking intensely into his phone. Even when he was frustrated, there was something magnetic about the way he commanded attention. "Got it," she said, though she'd already noticed that Sebastian's personal life was practically non-existent. He arrived early, left late, and seemed to live on coffee and determination. That evening, as Emma was packing up her desk, Sebastian emerged from his office looking more stressed than usual. His normally perfect hair was slightly disheveled, and there was a tension in his shoulders that hadn't been there that morning. "Emma, could I speak with you for a moment?" She followed him into his office, where he gestured for her to sit while he paced behind his desk like a caged tiger. "Is everything all right?" she asked, genuinely concerned. Sebastian stopped pacing and looked at her directly. "My grandmother is coming to dinner tomorrow night. That's nice. Family time is important. You don't understand. Catherine Kane doesn't do casual family dinners. She's coming because she's found someone she wants me to marry." Emma felt an unexpected pang in her chest. "Oh, well, congratulations. I don't want to marry some stranger she's handpicked based on their family connections and financial portfolio." Sebastian ran a hand through his hair. "She's threatened to start arranging meetings with eligible women if I don't prove I'm in a serious relationship." "And are you in a relationship, I mean?" Sebastian's laugh was bitter. "When would I have time for that? Between running this company and avoiding my grandmother's matchmaking attempts, I barely have time to sleep." Emma studied his face, seeing genuine distress beneath his composed exterior. "So what are you going to do?" Sebastian stopped pacing and looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "I have an idea, but you're going to think I'm completely insane. Try me. I need you to pretend to be my girlfriend." Emma blinked several times. "I'm sorry, what? Just for tomorrow night?" "Maybe a few more occasions until my grandmother backs off. I'll pay you extra, of course, and it would just be for show." "Sebastian, that's crazy, I know it is. But Emma, you're the only person in my life who isn't trying to get something from me. You're genuine, you're quick on your feet, and my grandmother would never suspect that I'd fake a relationship with my assistant." Emma felt her heart racing. The rational part of her mind was screaming that this was a terrible idea. But another part, the part that had been increasingly drawn to Sebastian's rare smiles and unexpected moments of vulnerability, was intrigued. What would this fake relationship involve exactly? Dinner with my grandmother tomorrow? Maybe a few public appearances? Yeah, nothing inappropriate, just enough to convince her that I'm happily taken. Emma looked out at the city lights beginning to twinkle in the darkening sky. "And after she's convinced, we gradually break up and go back to our normal professional relationship. This is insane. Completely. Your grandmother will see right through it, probably. I don't know the first thing about being a billionaire's girlfriend. Do I about having one?" Emma turned back to face him, and something in his expression made her breath catch. There was hope there, and a vulnerability he rarely showed. "What's in it for me, besides the extra pay, the satisfaction of helping someone? In desperate need? You're really that desperate to avoid your grandmother's matchmaking?" Sebastian's expression grew serious. "Emma, my grandmother doesn't just suggest, she arranges. If I don't prove I'm committed to someone, she'll have me married to some socialite." Within 6 months, Emma was quiet for a long moment. weighing the absurdity of the situation against the genuine distress in Sebastian's voice. Finally, she sighed. "All right, I'll do it, but I have conditions." Relief flooded Sebastian's features. "Name them." "First, this stays completely professional. No blurred lines, no confusion about what's real and what's pretend." "Agreed." "Second, you brief me on everything I need to know. Your likes, dislikes, how we supposedly met, how long we've been dating, of course. And third, when this is over, we never speak of it again." Sebastian extended his hand, deal as their hands touched. Emma felt that same electric spark from their first meeting. She quickly pulled away, reminding herself that this was just business. The next evening, Emma stood in front of her small apartment's mirror, trying to decide between her two nicest dresses. Sebastian had sent a car to pick her up, along with a note that simply said, "Be yourself. That's what makes you perfect for this." When the car pulled up to the Kane family estate, Emma's mouth fell open. The house was more like a mansion, with perfectly manicured gardens and enough windows to light up a small city. Sebastian met her at the front door, looking devastatingly handsome in a navy suit. "You look beautiful," he said, and for a moment, Emma forgot this was all pretend. "Clean up pretty well yourself?" Sebastian's smile was nervous, ready to meet the most intimidating woman in New York, as ready as anyone can be to lie to someone's grandmother. Catherine Kane was exactly what Emma had expected, and nothing like what she'd prepared for. She was elegant, sharp-eyed, and had the kind of presence that could command a room without saying a word. But there was also warmth in her smile when she greeted Emma. "So you're the young woman who's captured my grandson's attention. Mrs. Kane, it's lovely to meet you. Call me Catherine, dear. Now tell me, how did you two meet?" Emma glanced at Sebastian, who gave her an encouraging nod. "Actually, it's quite funny. I got lost in his building and accidentally walked into the wrong interview." Catherine's eyebrows rose with interest. How delightfully unconventional. As dinner progressed, Emma found herself relaxing despite the circumstances. Catherine was witty, intelligent, and surprisingly easy to talk with. She asked about Emma's background, her interests, and her thoughts on Sebastian's work habits. "He works too much," Emma said honestly. "Someone needs to remind him that life happens outside the office. And do you remind him?" Emma looked at Sebastian, who was watching her with an unreadable expression. "I try." "Good. He needs someone who isn't afraid to challenge him." After dinner, Catherine insisted on showing Emma the family photo albums, much to Sebastian's mortification. Emma found herself genuinely charmed by stories of Sebastian's childhood and his obvious love for his grandmother. "He was such a serious little boy," Catherine said, pointing to a photo of 6-year-old Sebastian in a tiny suit, always organizing his toys and making plans. "Some things never change," Emma laughed. When it was time to leave, Catherine hugged Emma warmly. "I hope we'll see much more of you, dear." In the car ride back to Emma's apartment, they sat in comfortable silence for several minutes. "That went well," Sebastian said finally. "Your grandmother is wonderful. I can see why you don't want to disappoint her. She likes you. I like her too." Sebastian turned to look at Emma. "Thank you. For tonight, you were perfect." Emma felt warmth spread through her chest at his words. "So what happens now? And now we figure out how to make this look convincing for a few more weeks, Sebastian?" "Yes. When you do find someone real, she's going to be very lucky." It's something flickered in Sebastian's eyes. "What makes you think I haven't already?" Before Emma could process what he meant, the car pulled up to her building. Sebastian walked her to the door, and for a moment they stood close enough that Emma could smell his cologne and see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. "Good night, Emma." "Good night, Sebastian." As she watched his car disappear into the night, Emma realized that somewhere between pretending to be his girlfriend and seeing him with his family, her feelings had shifted from professional admiration to something much more dangerous. And judging by the way Sebastian had looked at her tonight, she might not be the only one whose heart was getting involved in their fake relationship. The next Monday brought an unexpected complication. Jake Morrison, Emma's childhood friend and longtime crush, appeared at the Kane Industries reception desk with flowers and a hopeful smile. "Jake, what are you doing here? I heard through the grapevine that you landed an amazing job. I wanted to congratulate you and maybe take you to lunch." Emma felt torn between happiness at seeing Jake and anxiety about Sebastian discovering her personal life. She had harbored feelings for Jake for years, but his timing couldn't be worse.
Emma, who's this?
Sebastian's voice came from behind her, cool and professional. Sebastian, this is Jake Morrison, an old friend. Jake, this is Sebastian Kane, my boss. Jake extended his hand, but Emma didn't miss the way Sebastian's jaw tightened slightly. Nice to meet you, Mr. Kane. Emma's told me a lot about her new job. Has she? Sebastian's smile was polite but didn't reach his eyes. Emma, don't forget we have the Henderson meeting in 20 minutes. As Jake left, promising to call later, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Sebastian's interruption had been deliberately timed. She wasn't sure how she felt about that. 2 weeks had passed since Emma began her role as Sebastian's pretend girlfriend, and the lines between fiction and reality were becoming increasingly blurred. They had attended 3 business dinners together, where Sebastian's hand on her back felt natural, and their conversations flowed effortlessly. Emma found herself looking forward to these events, not for the fancy venues or expensive meals, but for the moments when Sebastian would lean close to whisper something funny in her ear, making her laugh despite herself. But everything changed on a rainy Tuesday morning when Victoria Sterling walked into Sebastian's office like she owned the place. Emma was reviewing Sebastian's schedule when she heard a familiar female voice from his office, smooth and confident, with an undertone of possessiveness that made Emma's stomach tighten. Sebastian, darling, you look wonderful. Business must be treating you well. Emma glanced through the glass wall and saw a stunning woman with platinum blonde hair and designer everything embracing Sebastian. Even from a distance, Emma could see the tension in Sebastian's shoulders. Oliver appeared beside Emma's desk, his expression grim. That's Victoria Sterling, Sebastian's ex-fiancée. Ex-fiancée. Emma's heart sank. They were engaged 2 years ago. Very high-profile relationship. Lots of society page coverage. She ended things when she got a better offer from a European businessman. Emma watched as Victoria laughed at something Sebastian said, her perfectly manicured hand resting on his arm. What's she doing here? Probably heard about his mysterious new girlfriend through the social circle. Victoria doesn't like losing, especially to someone she considers beneath her station. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Through the glass, she could see Victoria gesturing animatedly while Sebastian listened with his professional mask firmly in place. When Victoria's gaze shifted toward Emma's desk, her smile turned predatory. An hour later, Sebastian emerged from his office alone. But Emma could see the stress etched in his features. Everything all right? She asked gently. Sebastian sat on the edge of her desk, a gesture that had become comfortable between them. Victoria wants to have lunch. She's curious about you, about me. She heard rumors about my new relationship and wants to meet the woman who supposedly captured my heart. Emma felt panic rising in her chest. Sebastian, I can't fool someone like that. She'll see right through our act. Yeah, you fooled my grandmother. Your grandmother wanted to believe we were together. This woman wants to prove we're not. Sebastian was quiet for a moment, then looked at Emma with an intensity that made her breath catch. What if we weren't acting? What do you mean? What if just for this lunch we stop pretending and let ourselves feel what's really happening between us? Emma's heart raced. Sebastian, that's dangerous territory. I know, but Emma, I can't ignore this anymore. The way you laugh at my terrible jokes, how you remember little things that matter to me, the way you make everything brighter just by being there. He reached out and gently touched her hand. I think I'm falling for you for real. Before Emma could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Dinner tonight? I have something important to tell you. Sebastian noticed her expression change. Jake? Emma nodded, feeling guilty for reasons she couldn't fully explain. He wants to have dinner. Something flickered in Sebastian's eyes, a flash of what looked like jealousy before his professional mask slipped back into place. Of course you should go. But his tone suggested the opposite, and Emma felt torn between loyalty to an old friend and these new, complicated feelings for Sebastian that evening. Emma met Jake at their old favorite restaurant, a cozy Italian place where they'd celebrated graduations and birthdays over the years. Jake looked nervous, fidgeting with his napkin and stumbling over small talk. Jake, what's going on? You're acting strange. Jake took a deep breath. Emma, I've been thinking a lot lately about us, about our friendship, about what we could be. Emma's stomach dropped. Jake. I know the timing might seem sudden, but seeing you in that fancy office building, knowing you're moving up in the world, it made me realize I might lose my chance forever. Jake reached across the table and took her hand. I'm in love with you, Emma. I have been for years. Emma stared at him, feeling like the world had tilted sideways. 6 months ago, hearing these words from Jake would have been a dream come true. Now, all she could think about was Sebastian's confession earlier that day. I care about you, Jake. You know I do. But, things are complicated right now because of your boss. Emma pulled her hand away. It's not what you think, isn't it? Emma, I've known you since we were kids. I can see it in your eyes when you talk about him. Meanwhile, across town, Sebastian sat in his apartment staring at his phone. He had typed and deleted a dozen messages to Emma, wanting to know how her dinner was going, but not wanting to seem possessive. The fake relationship had given him an excuse to be close to her. But now he realized how much he'd been fooling himself about his own feelings. His phone rang.
Ow.
Displaying his grandmother's name. Sebastian, dear, I've been thinking about Emma. Grandmother, it's late. I know love when I see it, and that girl is head over heels for you. Sebastian's heart clenched. It's complicated. But bam. The best things usually are. Don't let pride or fear keep you from happiness. After hanging up, Sebastian made a decision. He drove to the restaurant, where he knew Emma was having dinner with Jake, not to interrupt, but just to be nearby in case she needed him. From his car across the street, he watched through the window as Jake leaned forward earnestly, clearly, in the middle of some important conversation. When he saw Jake take Emma's hand, Sebastian felt a pain in his chest he'd never experienced before. Back inside the restaurant. Oh. Emma was struggling to find the right words. Jake, you're one of my best friends. I don't want to hurt you, but you don't love me. Emma looked into Jake's honest, hopeful face and felt her heart break a little. Not the way you deserve to be loved.
8.
Jake nodded slowly, disappointment clear. In his eyes, it's him, isn't it? Emma didn't answer, but her silence was confirmation enough. Does he know? I don't think it matters. We're from completely different worlds. Emma, you're smart, funny, beautiful, and kind. Any man would be lucky to have you, billionaire or not. As Emma walked out of the restaurant, she was surprised to see Sebastian's car parked across the street. Got out as she approached, his expression unreadable. How did you know where to find me? Lucky guess? Sebastian studied her face. How was dinner? Complicated? They stood in the rain that had started falling, neither moving toward their cars. Emma, about what I said earlier. Sebastian, don't. Please, why not? 'Cause this is real life, not a fairy tale. You're Sebastian Kane, and I'm just Emma Rodriguez, who got lost and stumbled into your world. Sebastian stepped closer, rain dampening his hair. Do you think I care about any of that? You should. Your grandmother, your business associates. People like Victoria, they'll never accept someone like me. What about what I want? Emma looked up at him, seeing the vulnerability in his dark eyes. What do you want, Sebastian? You, just you. Before Emma could respond, Sebastian's phone buzzed with an urgent message. His expression changed as he read it. What is it, Victoria? She's called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. She's trying to buy out enough shares to force a merger with her new company. Emma felt cold dread wash over her. Can she do that? If she has enough votes, yes. And she's very persuasive when she wants something. The next morning, Emma arrived at the office to find it buzzing with tension. Oliver filled her in on the details as they watched board members file into the conference room. Victoria's been quietly buying shares through shell companies for months. If this merger goes through, Sebastian could lose control of his own company. How can I help? Let's be here for him. This is going to be brutal. The meeting lasted. For hours, Emma watched through the glass walls as Sebastian fought for his life's work, presenting counter-proposals and rally support from loyal board members. Victoria sat across from him, cool and calculating, her smile never wavering. It was over. Sebastian emerged, looking exhausted but victorious by the narrowest of margins. Victoria had lost, but barely. It's not over, Victoria said as she passed Emma's desk, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. He can't hide behind his little secretary forever. People like you don't belong in our world. Emma felt every word like a physical blow. But before she could respond, Sebastian was there. Victoria, you're no longer welcome in this building. Security will escort you out. Sebastian, you're making a mistake. We belong together, you know that. The only mistake I made was ever thinking. I loved you. After Victoria left, the office slowly returned to normal, but Emma couldn't shake her words. That evening, she found herself packing her few belongings from Sebastian's office. What are you doing? Sebastian asked, finding her boxing up her desk supplies. Resigning? Emma, no? Victoria was right. I don't belong in your world, Sebastian moved around the desk and took her hands, stopping her frantic packing. Look at me. When she finally met his eyes, he continued. You don't belong in this world because you're too good for it. You're honest in a place built on lies, kind in a place that rewards cruelty, and real in a place full of pretense. Sebastian, I love you, Emma. Not because you're convenient or because you fit some image, but because you're you. You make me laugh. You challenge me. You make me want to be better. Emma felt tears starting to fall. I love you too, but no buts. Just yes or no. Will you take a chance on us? Emma looked around the office that had become her second home, then at Sebastian's hopeful face. Yes. Sebastian's smile was radiant as he pulled her into his arms and kissed her. A real kiss that had nothing to do with pretense and everything to do with love. 6 months later, Emma stood in the same conference room where she'd first been hired. But this time she was wearing a simple white dress and holding a bouquet of wildflowers. Sebastian had proposed the same way he'd hired her, unconventionally. Honestly, and with complete faith that they belonged together. As they exchanged vows in front of their small gathering of family and friends, including a beaming Catherine, Kane and a surprisingly supportive Jake, Emma marveled at how one wrong turn had led her to exactly where she was meant to be. Do you take this woman to be your wife? The officiant asked. Sebastian looked into Emma's eyes with all the love and certainty in the world. I do. I absolutely do. And as they kissed as husband and wife, Emma realized that sometimes the best things in life happened when you stopped looking for them and simply opened your heart to the unexpected. Their love story had started with a case of mistaken identity, but it was ending with the truest thing either of them had ever known.